Have you ever looked at a rainbow and felt something stir inside you? What if I told you that rainbow isn't just pretty colors after a storm, but God's bow, a promise He hung in the sky so you'd never face life's storms alone? For thousands of years, this symbol has carried hope from Noah's flood all the way to us today. And in the next few minutes, you'll see why that same rainbow you've seen 100 times still speaks directly to your toughest battles. So stay with me, because once you know what God's war bow really means, you'll never look at a rainbow the same way again. Long ago, the world was a place of darkness. Humanity had turned its back on God. Violence filled the earth, families torn apart, hearts hardened by greed and pride. The Bible tells us in Genesis 6:5-6, God looked down and saw the wickedness of man, and his heart was broken. So God sent the flood. For 40 days and 40 nights, rain poured without end. Waters rose, covering the mountains, erasing every trace of life. Except for one man, Noah. He built an ark, following God's command, a lone beacon of faith in a drowning world. Can you imagine it? The ark tossing on endless waves, carrying the last hope of creation. But this isn't just a story of judgment. It's a story of mercy. Genesis 9:11 says, "Never again will all life be destroyed by the waters of a flood." God made a promise, a covenant, sealed with a sign. What was that sign? And why? Does it still matter to us today? Stick with me to find out. Have you ever wondered what God's promise looks like? Drop a comment below and tell me about a time a rainbow caught your eye. Next, we'll uncover a single Hebrew word that changes everything you thought you knew about the rainbow. Ever gazed at a rainbow and felt a stir in your soul? It's not just colors. It's God's war bow, set in the sky to promise peace. For those of us who've seen life's storms, this one's gonna hit home. After the flood, the world was a mess. Soggy, broken, raw. The Hebrew word Qeshet means rainbow and war bow. In the ancient Near East, a bow wasn't a decoration. It was a god's weapon, like lightning, in the hands of warrior deities. Marduk, Baal, names whispered in awe. Then comes Genesis 9:13, a verse straight from God's heart. "I have set my Qeshet in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth." Picture this: God, the mightiest warrior, who just washed away a corrupt world. He could have kept the bow drawn, ready to judge again. But instead, He hangs it up. He paints the sky with colors that scream, "No more floods, my mercy holds." For those who've lived through decades of ups and downs, that Qeshet isn't just a sign. It's God's promise, etched in light, that He's got us, no matter how fierce the storm. Think of Noah's family, old and weary, hearts heavy from the terror of the flood. Seeing that Qeshet glow, it's God saying, "I'm done with wrath. I choose love." And for us, older folks, carrying years of loss, health battles, family worries, that rainbow, it's a lifeline. It's like God whispering, "I see your struggles, and I'm still here." But when clouds gathered again, did Noah's kin, folks who'd seen it all, tremble, fearing another flood? If you've ever wondered how to trust through life's storms, stay with me. Next, we'll see how God made that Qeshet, a rock-solid promise for a shaken world. Let's dive into how this rainbow became God's way of calming fears, then and now, for hearts that have weathered life's toughest days. Ever felt your heart skip when storm clouds roll in, wondering if life's about to crash again? After the flood, Noah's family felt that fear too, until God's rainbow lit up the sky, a promise that changed everything. Picture a world just starting over, still haunted by the devastation of the flood. Every dark cloud must have felt like a threat, a whisper of another deluge. Noah's kin, weathered by survival, likely held their breath. Each time the sky growled, but God saw that fear and gave them something solid. Genesis 9:15. I will remember my covenant. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. That rainbow, the Qeshet, wasn't just a pretty sight. In the ancient Near East, where storms meant divine wrath, this was God's deliberate move to calm trembling hearts. It was His seal, glowing in the clouds, saying, "The one way, I'm not that kind of God anymore." For people who'd lost everything, this covenant wasn't just words. It was hope, painted in vibrant colors, a divine vow that the earth was safe again. God sees that Qeshet, and He remembers His promise, and that is a game changer. For anyone who's ever faced a storm, imagine standing with Noah's family, old, battle-worn, watching that rainbow break through the clouds. It's God reaching down, saying, "The one way, I've got you. No more destruction." For us, older folks who've weathered life's losses, a loved one, our health, maybe even dreams, that rainbow, it's a hug from above. It's proof that God's faithfulness holds, no matter how dark it gets. But here's the question: how does that ancient promise speak to us today when our own storms, sickness, loneliness, a world gone wild, still feel just as scary? Hang tight, because next, we'll see how this rainbow speaks to our battles. Right now, let's explore how God's Qeshet still shines, giving us hope in the middle of life's toughest storms. Ever felt like life's storms, sickness, loss, or a world turned upside down, or just that rainbow you spot after the rain? It's not random. It's not just nature. It's God's promise, still shining, still speaking. And it's telling us older folks, I'm right here, with you. Narrative: life today can feel like a flood, all its own. Maybe you're a retiree in Texas, battling a health scare, or a widow in Ohio, facing lonely nights. Perhaps you're a grandparent in Georgia, worried about your kids. In a chaotic world, these are our storms, and they hit hard when you've seen as many years as we have, But that rainbow, the Qeshet from Genesis, still carries the same weight as it did for Noah. It's God's war bow, once aimed in judgment, now hung up as a sign of mercy. The Bible doesn't spell out a verse for this exact moment, but Genesis 9:15 still echoes, "Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life." And that promise, it extends to us. It's God saying, "I see your pain, and I'm not abandoning you." Think of a farmer in the Midwest. A storm wipes out his crops. Then, a rainbow appears, and he finds peace. Because he knows God's presence holds steady. That Qeshet isn't just history. It's a living promise. A reminder that God's mercy outlasts our toughest days. For us, who've lived long enough to know loss, that rainbow hits deep. It's like God whispering, "I'm still here, carrying you through." It's the hope we cling to when doctor visits pile up, when the world feels like it's slipping away. It's God's love, painted across the sky. But here's the real question. How do we hold on to that promise? When life keeps throwing storms, can that rainbow really light the way through our darkest moments? Stick around. Next, we'll tie it all together with a call to trust that endures. Let me know. Have you ever felt that kind of fear when the sky darkens? When a storm hits your life? Grief, illness, loneliness. What did your heart feel in that moment? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. Let's wrap this up with how God's Qeshet calls us to lean into His faithfulness, no matter what we face. Ever wonder what a rainbow really means when life storms hit hard? For us older folks, it's more than a pretty sight. It's God's promise, calling us to trust Him through it all. Let's wrap this journey up. The rainbow, God's Qeshet, started as a war bow, a symbol of divine judgment that drowned a sinful world. But after the flood, God flipped the script. Genesis 9:16 says, "Whenever the Qeshet appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant." That's not just a one-time deal for Noah's crew. It's for us too. Think of the retiree in Tennessee watching a rainbow after a hospital stay, or the grandparent in Montana praying for their family in a messy world. That Qeshet is God's vow. His mercy endures. No matter how many years we've weathered, no matter how fierce our storms get, from ancient days to our modern struggles, health scares, loss, or a world that feels off kilter, this rainbow stands firm. It's God saying, "I'm faithful, even when life isn't." For us Americans, who still value faith and community, this is our legacy, a spiritual anchor, a beacon of hope, rooted in God's unchanging nature. Emotional pull, that rainbow, it hits us right in the heart. It's like God leaning in, saying, asterisk, asterisk, I see your worries, your aches, your fears for your kids, and I'm not going anywhere. Asterisk, asterisk. It's the peace we need when life feels like a flood. But here's the real question. Next time you see a rainbow, will you let it remind you of God's promise? Can it carry you through your toughest days? Don't miss this. Share how that Qeshet speaks to you. Hit that like button. If this rainbow's hope resonates with you, drop a comment. Tell us about a time you saw God's faithfulness in your storm. Share this with someone who needs a lift. And subscribe so you don't miss how God's promises continue to light up our lives.